going to Acts chapter 11, as promised. From Acts chapter 11, verses 20 to 21, where it says, "Men of Cyprus and Cyrene went to Syria, to the city of Antioch, and there they began telling Greeks, Gentiles, the good news about Jesus. And the hand of the Lord was with them." When I think about the hand of the Lord, I'm reminded of a story. I might have told you this story before, and I don't remember. I certainly didn't tell it in connection with this passage, though. But it's a story about a hitchhiker. It was a rainy night, like last night, and this man was driving along a back road, a country road, kind of road that winds and weaves and turns and all that kind of stuff. And because it was raining, it was pitch dark outside. And wouldn't you know it, in the middle of nowhere, his car breaks down. He can't move. He can't go anywhere. It's raining outside. He doesn't know what's wrong. He doesn't know what to do. And much probably like me, he wouldn't know what to do to fix it. His only choice is to get out and to start walking. It was the days before cell phones. I know some of us cannot imagine what that would be like, but it was the day before cell phones. And so there was no way for him to call AAA. There was no way for him to call a family member or a friend and ask for help. All he could do was get out of his car, pull his jacket up over his head because of the rain, and start walking, just hoping that someone would stop in the rain and give him a ride. Well, he's walking down the road, and he sees out ahead of him a car coming toward him. He sees the headlights. He sees the car as it's coming around a curve. And suddenly the car stops. And he thinks, well, the car's a bit out ahead of me, but maybe when their headlights came around the curve, they spotted me walking on the side of the road, and they're stopped to help me. So he just makes a beeline for that car. He runs across the road, heading toward the headlights of the car. And because it's a dark night and that bright light is just blinding him, and because his jacket is pulled up over his head, he doesn't see that there's no one in the driver's seat of that car. He simply runs around to the passenger side door, quickly opens it, quickly climbs in, and it's not until then that he notices there's no driver. And then this car starts to move. And now he is praying. And while he is praying, he sees a mysterious hand reach in through the driver's side window, and that hand grabbed the steering wheel. That mysterious hand was a human hand, right? I'm just a human hand, right? But the hand that we read about this morning in Acts chapter 11, when it says that the hand of the Lord was with them in that mission effort in Antioch. Now that hand, that was not a human hand. God does not have hands. God is spirit. God the Father is spirit. And so when the writer of Acts says that the hand of the Lord was with them, it's merely a kind of an Old Testament way of speaking. It's a way of saying that the power, the authority that Jesus talks about in today's gospel reading, that authority was working mightily in the city of Antioch, blessing the work of these men from Cyprus and Cyrene. The hand of God was blessing the work of their hands in sharing the good news about Jesus with Gentiles in that city. That work to the Gentiles, upon which you and I, as Gentiles, are so dependent. That work, that mission work continues with us as a congregation. The hand of the Lord is with us to do this work, to continue that work, to hand on the good news of Jesus to those who do not know the forgiveness of sins or the hope that Jesus gives. This work continues with us lifting up our hands in prayer that our mission efforts would be successful. This work that began in Antioch continues with us reaching out and lifting up the oppressed. That's part of our work. Helping those in need, even if it's just providing food for those who need it these days. Or giving toward that home that provides a home for young mothers to be. As we reach out and lift up the oppressed, we're doing that work to which the Lord has called us. And what I mean by that, think further. If you and I as Christians, as a congregation, if we would somehow be lifted up and taken back into the past to live in Nazi Germany during the 1930s and 1940s, we would help the Jews, would we not? We wouldn't just lift a little finger, would we? That too is part of the mission. Handing on the gospel, lifting up hands in prayer, reaching out to the oppressed. And how essential is the hand of the Lord in enabling us and empowering us to do that. The hand of the Lord works through His Word, the Scriptures. The hand of the Lord works through the Lord's Supper. The hand of the Lord works through baptism and the remembrance of our baptism, that we are baptized children of God, beloved by Him. The hand of the Lord works through confession and forgiveness, not just on Sunday, but hopefully every day in our lives. The hand of the Lord works through these means of grace to give us the grace and the strength that we need to work alongside the Lord, to make disciples of all nations, as the hand of the Lord raises us to newness of life. Or else we would only use our hands to build our own lives, fretting about our future, worrying about what is actually out of our hands, even using God or using others to protect ourselves from life's uncertainties. Are you and I capable of that? Of compromising our discipleship? I do a lot of reading of what I would call great Christian heroes of the faith. When I read about what discipleship looks like, I think we can hardly fathom it, the depth of what it is to follow Christ. When you think about those great heroes of faith in the past, like Barnabas and Paul, or those men of Cyprus and Cyrene, I think we're even afraid to talk about the depth of discipleship, of what it really means to follow Christ. Yeah, we're capable of at least compromising and of using our hands only to build our own lives. And if that happens, then if anything comes between, if anyone stands between us and our plans, if anyone stands between us and our desires, if anyone stands between us and our vision for how we think life should be, if anyone stands between us and our well-being, we would inevitably knock them down or push them away. Who says we're capable of that? God does. Who of us has not raised our hand against God's Son? All of us had a part in nailing Christ's hands to the cross. Nevertheless, on that same day, the hand of the Lord was for us. The hand of the Lord, the outstretched hand, the living and nail-pierced, real human hand of the Lord was for us. And on Easter Day, the same. The living hands, the resurrected hands, the nail-scarred hands, the real human hands of the Lord were for us in order to fill our guilty hands with God's grace and mercy. Our hands, our human hands, filled by human hands with God's grace and mercy. Real human hands. And that's also what that mysterious hand that the hitchhiker saw, that's what it was, a real human hand. When he saw that hand, instead of putting two and two together, he just got scared. And he was so scared, he opened his passenger side door there, the door next to him. He just opened it and jumped out of the car while it was moving. He rolled into the ditch and was badly shaken up. By the time he's able to pull himself up, the car was no longer in sight. And now the only choice he had was again to start walking. So he staggers into the nearest town, now soaking wet and in shock. He walks into a gas station convenience store and tells the store clerk his scary story. And in the middle of telling it, in walk two other guys. And one says to the other, "Hey, Bert, look, there's the guy that got in our car while we were pushing it." Yeah, that was Bert's mysterious hand. He did not see them pushing the car because they had been pushing it from behind, and he had come around the front of the car. But when that car was approaching a curve, Bert had reached in, while pushing the car from the side, he reached in to grab the steering wheel, as you have seen people do, to steer it around the curve. That mysterious hand was a real human hand. Nothing supernatural, nothing weird, no ghost. It was a real human hand. As real as the outstretched hands upon the cross. For us. That mysterious hand that the hitchhiker saw was as real a human hand as the hands that invitingly broke bread at a supper in Emmaus on Easter evening. And what that reminds us, brothers and sisters, my dear Ascension Lutheran Church, what it reminds us of, what those real human hands of the Lord remind us of, is that the hand of the Lord is not something distant. The hand of the Lord is with us, as near as the human hands of Jesus Christ. The hand of the Lord is with us, as near to us as the Holy Scriptures in our hands, as near to us as bread and wine placed in our hands in the Lord's Supper, as near to us as the baptism waters. The hand of the Lord is as near to us as our confession and forgiveness. The hand of the Lord is near us to enable our hands to reach out from our busy lives, to outstretch toward others. Wherever we see Christ still suffering, and we see Christ suffering wherever we see people suffering from hopelessness or hunger or guilt or oppression, there the Lord would cause us to reach out the hands of Ascension Lutheran Church, to reach out our real human hands, to help in real human ways, to share the gospel, to pray for people, to lift up people, and, if necessary, to suffer alongside those who suffer. The hand of the Lord that we read about in Acts chapter 11 is not distant from us. As it says there, the hand of the Lord is with us. filling our human hands with grace and mercy and strength, and enabling us then to work alongside the Lord in making disciples of all nations until that time when all of creation will be raised, will be lifted to newness of life. Amen? Amen. Let's stand.